So is Mohamed Salah the best ever footballer to play for Liverpool Football Club? Well, I'll tell you what, he's definitely in the question, isn't he? He's definitely up there. He's definitely among, in my opinion anyway, at least in the modern era, at least in the Premier League era, he's in the top three, top four, top two, potentially. And look, I don't want to say Mohamed Salah is the best ever footballer to ever play for Liverpool Football Club. I was born in 1995. I didn't watch Liverpool play week in, week out like a lot of other Liverpool fans back in the 1980s, 1970s when Liverpool were winning league titles, Champions Leagues, FA Cups, Carabao Cups, or whatever that competition was called back then on a regular basis. You know, Kenny Dalglish, Ian Rush, Kevin Keegan, Ray Kennedy, Emlyn Hughes. These guys, absolute legends of the game at Liverpool Football Club. And, you know, it's probably a bit of a, not an unreasonable sort of comparison to compare Mohamed Salah to those players, because a different era, a different lifetime. You know, life was much, much different back then, as I'm sure. I wasn't born back then, but I'm sure life was very, very different. But in terms of the Premier League era, and in terms of, the modern era, the 21st century, Mohamed Salah for me is in the top two, top three players for Liverpool Football Club. And I think he will be number one when it's all said and done. I think he will be number one by the time he leaves Liverpool Football Club. Look, hopefully that's not at the end of next season when his contract expires. I think Liverpool will be absolutely crazy if they didn't renew that contract. I mean, that is, chalk and cheese. I mean, that is the most obvious thing, has ever seen. That contract has to be renewed, because if it's not, it's an absolute farce, and it'll probably be one of the worst decisions ever made in the history of the football club, nearly in the same breath as allowing Steven Gerrard to leave to go play football in America. I mean, he should have been kept for another one or two seasons and maybe given a backseat role in terms of coaching and whatnot. His coaching career has gone pretty well, actually, so maybe he made the right decision in the end. But in terms of Mohamed Salah, like, the only two players that for me can compare with him in terms of the top three is Steven Gerrard and Luis Suarez. I think Torres isn't a million miles away. Players like Mascherano, Jabi Alonso, Jamie Carragher, probably close-ish in some respects. Even Alisson and Sadio Mane, Jordan Henderson, players probably not a million miles away. But Mohamed Salah has to be in the top three, and probably even in the top two. I think I put him ahead of Luis Suarez. I was actually having a look at the goals comparison before making this video. 82 goals in 133 games for Luis Suarez, 144 goals for Mohamed Salah in 222 games for Liverpool. You would have actually expected probably Mohamed Salah's ratio to be a little bit higher. I know 144 goals in 222 games is an incredible feat, but Luis Suarez was actually scoring more regularly in his time for Liverpool than Mohamed Salah, and Luis Suarez was also playing in a worse team than Mohamed Salah. But the only kind of difference is, when Luis Suarez was playing for Liverpool, the team was very much focused around him. It was focused around Suarez. Suarez was the main man. Get the ball to Suarez. This Liverpool team is not focused around Mohamed Salah. He is the best player in our team, no doubt about it. But if Mohamed Salah gets injured, Liverpool have a systematic way of playing that doesn't fit around him. So someone else can slot in there, whether it be Diogo Jota or Roberto Firmino is back from injury, for example. So, Mohamed Salah, yeah, I mean, what a player, and like what I said before, 144 goals in 222 games. And this season, he's just been, electrifying beyond belief. I mean, he looks like he's getting better. It looks like he's getting quicker. It looks like he's becoming a better finisher. And that's something that's probably the most impressive about Mohamed Salah. And I think the reason why I would have him ahead of Luis Suarez is because, again, looking at comparisons in terms of goals and the teams that each other played in and whatnot, look at the big moments. Look at the defining moments. Mohamed Salah scoring big goals in big games on a regular basis. Champions League final, for example, springs to mind. Big games in the Champions League, before against the likes of Man City. Big goals against Man City in the league. Goals against United, Everton. Arsenal. He is scoring big goals in big moments defiantly. Suarez scored a couple of big goals in the big moments. Man United obviously stands out at Old Trafford, but not on a regular basis. And you also look at what each player has achieved. Salah has won a Premier League, he's won a Champions League, he's won a Club World Cup, and a UEFA Super Cup as well, whereas Suarez won a Carabao Cup or whatever. So I don't think you can quite compare them in terms of trophies won. Again, different eras. How would have Suarez done in this team as opposed to Mohamed Salah in that team? Both of them at their prime, for example. Who knows? Like, that's a a question mark for another day. But personally, I'd have Salah ahead of Luis Suarez. I mean, putting him ahead of Steven Gerrard is it's a bit of a touchy one. It's a bit of a touchy subject because, you look at what Steven Gerrard has given to Liverpool Football Club. You look at what he's had to endure as a Liverpool player. You look at, I suppose, the example he has set for Liverpool Football Club in terms of, he wins that Champions League in 2005 when Liverpool never had a right to win that Champions League at all. They weren't the best team in Europe in that given season. 3 goals down at half time against AC Milan and, miraculously somehow find a way to turn it around and win it. Steven Gerrard could have walked away and gone to Chelsea. It would have tarnished his legacy, no doubt about it. I still think he would have been remembered in the city quite fondly to a certain degree. He did win a Champions League and captained the club to a Champions League. It would have been one of them things that when he retired further on down his career, maybe people would look back at Gerrard fondly. But, he declined the chance to go to what at that time was a better club in terms of winning trophies and a better manager at that time as well in Jose Mourinho. He goes there, he would have won trophies, he would have won league titles, and who knows, maybe he would have won a Champions League with Chelsea under Jose Mourinho and possibly gone on to win another one then when Roberto Di Matteo came in. So, for Steven Gerrard, you look at some of the teams he's played in. He's played for Liverpool at their absolute worst, under Roy Hodgson that time, under the ownership of Hicks and Gillette when the club nearly went into administration. He's had to play with probably some of the worst Liverpool footballers in the history of the football club. He's had to play through some bad times, and it would have been hard for him to probably, I suppose, be motivated playing for Liverpool at different stages. I know he's been paid quite a lot of money to play for Liverpool Football Club, but look, listen, these are human beings at the end of the day. There is still a motivation level to go out on the pitch and want to win, and when you're seeing fucking Mario Balotelli, who's setting off fireworks in his own house, or you're seeing players like Andre Vornen coming in and Iago Aspas and these idiots. I mean, Aspas actually was alright for in the Spanish league, but he was dreadful for Liverpool. Let's not forget that. He gave so much for Liverpool and he changed his game quite a lot. Gerrard started off as a right back for Liverpool in a similar fashion to Trent, moved into a more regular midfield position, started playing the 10, and then later in his career moved back to the 6 and was a central defensive midfielder. So, Steven Gerrard is one of the, he's uncomparable, and for what he done for Liverpool Football Club, the big goals as well, Olympiacos, West Ham 2006, you're talking about defining clutch moments. You think back to 2006, if Gerrard puts that late opportunity wide against West Ham, people are like, what is he doing? Why is he even going for a goal? Do you know what I mean? You see those moments, you're like, what is he doing? Why is he actually doing that? And you think 2005, if that chance goes wide, people are like, oh, he just blew our big moment. But he put it in, he had the balls to step up in the big moment. And, I think that's probably why he just about shades Mohamed Salah for me a number one right now. But look, when it's all said and done, I think if Mohamed Salah stays for Liverpool, he signs a new deal, a new contract, and Liverpool Football Club give him whatever he wants. Give him whatever he wants. I don't care if he breaks the wage structure or whatever it is. You make an exception for a player of his quality. So he stays, and he maybe stays to the end of his career, maybe not, but he gives it another 4 or 5 years, wins a couple more league titles, maybe another Champions League, more trophies, and I think then he goes down as Liverpool's best footballer in the Premier League era. And I think then it's up for discussion in terms of the experts can maybe decide that a little bit better in terms of people who were around watching Liverpool week in, week out in the 70s and 80s and compare Salah with some of the all-time greats. But I think he would go down as one of the all-time greats. He'd be put in that category. He'd be he'd have a seat at the table with the likes of Dalglish, Ian Rush, these kind of lads, and I mean, look, we'll see what he does between now and the end of his career as a Liverpool footballer. But Mohamed Salah, he's definitely in the conversation for me. He's definitely in the top 3 in terms of the best footballers to ever play from Liverpool Football Club, no doubt about it.